Welcome back to Alpha Recap, your after-hours market wrap. Great to have you with us. As always, if you have questions, you can reach us at stockalpha.ai. Markets were closed for the day when we recorded this, so we're talking about what happened earlier.
Big day to unpack. So what really stands out here is the breadth pickup. Small caps led the way, and the tape felt pretty risk-on overall.
Right. To put numbers on it, and I'll pause for the drum roll, the S&P 500 finished up about 1.2%, the Nasdaq 100 was up about 1.3%, and the Russell 2000 jumped roughly 2.1%. That differential is the story. I mean, when you step back and look at this, that outperformance in the Russell 2000 suggested buyers were moving beyond mega-cap tech and into higher beta cyclical names.
Yeah, that tracks.
So why did that happen? It wasn't one single headline. Several themes converged. Cleaner than feared earnings here and there, signs that inflation pressures might be easing a bit, and a rotation into materials, energy, and industrials. Traders bought the idea that growth-sensitive sectors could do well if policy stayed relatively accommodative.
Right. And the other thing is improved breadth. When small and mid caps rally alongside the big names, that often signals more durable participation rather than a one-day bounce.
Exactly. There was a lot of localized news too. Company-level filings, 8Ks and the like, repriced a few media and industrial names. So pockets of volatility drove some intraday action, but overall flows favored equities.
Short reaction. Not boring today.
No, not at all. Materials and mining were standouts. Momentum built as commodity demand expectations ticked up and supply dynamics got repriced. Energy also got a bid, partly from geopolitical friction near the Strait of Hormuz and some project-level news like Sunzia coming online, which supports long-term infrastructure narratives.
Sunzia. For listeners who don't follow it closely, that's a big transmission project tied to renewable and grid capacity, right? So when that kind of project gets positive news, it can lift energy and clean infrastructure names.
Yeah, and industrials and some financials joined in the rally. The market was voting that a mild economic slowdown, if one materialized, wouldn't stop corporate activity. So Cyclicals called a bid.
Quick one. Communications and media were noisy today. The headline that got everyone's attention was the announced exit of Netflix's co-founder. That sparked a lot of discussion about strategy and succession.
Honestly, I was a bit surprised by how quickly the streaming peers reacted. Leadership exits at founders level tend to make analysts reevaluate execution and content strategy. And the trading volume reflected that.
Short reaction. That made headlines for sure.
There were also sector laggards. Defensive groups like consumer staples were weaker. Clorox came under pressure after a bearish note from a major bank that flagged margin concerns. Utilities were mixed. Traditional regulated names were steady, while some clean energy names moved on project and policy headlines rather than a straight risk-on or risk-off play. Not a great day for certain defensive names.
Got it.
On the macro front, market participants were passing signs of moderating inflation against resilient labour market data. No single dominating data point changed the Fed outlook today, but the balance between inflation and growth kept the Fed's policy path in focus.
Right. And analysts were saying that the tone from upcoming Fed speakers would probably matter as much as the raw data. If the Fed sounded hawkish, that could reprice rates quickly and shift the rotation back toward defensives and rate-sensitive assets.
Treasury yields were also on the watch list. A rise in yields would tend to support cyclicals and weaken long-duration growth, while a fall would help growth names. Traders were watching the curve for confirmation of whether this rotation could stick.
We should talk briefly about some notable individual moves. Netflix, we covered. United Therapeutics popped on renewed investor interest and some biotech-specific write-ups. Regions Financial drew attention after an 8K filing. And Autoleave's filing kicked around some auto supply chain moves.
And smaller names, a string of 8Ks and related filings, some microcaps, kept certain illiquid names moving. Those are typically headline and liquidity-driven moves, so they can be dramatic but noisy. On crypto, there was renewed momentum, but regulatory chatter kept intraday swings alive. Crypto-related equities and futures were higher overall, but headlines about potential regulation reminded traders there's still headline-driven risk.
Short reaction? Plenty to watch there.
Looking forward, analysts highlighted a few risks that could flip the narrative quickly. Hawkish Fed remarks, surprise inflation prints, geopolitical flashes around energy choke points, or crypto regulation shocks. Corporate headlines and more 8Ks could also keep individual stock volatility elevated.
And technically, follow-through mattered. The session's breadth improvement was encouraging, but analysts said they wanted to see small and mid-cap participation continue for another day or two, with stable bond volatility before calling it a sustained rotation.
So let's summarize the scenarios we heard from the market wrap. Bullish. Momentum continues, cyclicals lead, and the Fed tone stays benign. Neutral. The market consolidated gains as traders digested breadth improvement and awaited clearer macro signals. Bearish. A hawkish Fed voice, hotter inflation, or geopolitics reversed the move and favored defensives.
Final quick takeaways?
3 big ones. 1. Breadth improved meaningfully, with small caps outperforming, which suggests rotation beyond mega-cap tech. 2. Materials, energy, and industrials led, helped by commodity dynamics and localized project news. 3. Headlines and Fed commentary remain the key wildcards, so follow-through over the next couple of sessions was important.
Important reminder. This episode is informational only. Analysts note market dynamics. None of this is personalized investment advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any security.
If you have questions about anything we covered today, head to stockalpha.ai, where you can ask us directly and we'll answer live. For more market analysis and insights, visit stockalpha.ai. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time on Alpha Recap.